Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and I'm not alone. I'm joined by the venerable, the wonderful Zion and Felix.
Ooh, beep, boop, bop, bop, bop. I'm definitely not a robot. Not this again. Come on.
Again, delightful. Anyway, today we're going to be taking a look at three, that's one each, maths fans, three underappreciated Switch games. Games that we feel have flown under the radar. We could use the term hidden gems, but at the same time, that's kind of old hat, so we're trying something new. So, why don't we open up? Zion, why don't you tell us what our first game is going to be?
Ooh, so, as you mentioned, the Nintendo Switch, there are new games coming out all the time, so it's completely understandable that, stuff would fly under our radar. So this game that I picked, it reviewed really, really well, but it came out at a time in 2022, I think it was. 2022, where just not a lot of people were talking about it because there was so much other stuff coming out. Have either of you guys heard of the survival horror PS1 era style game Signalis? Does that ring a bell?
Oh, it rings a bell.
It does ring a bell.
But I can't tell you any more than that. Just the name. Maybe I saw it in an email or something like that. But I've heard of it. I know nothing about it other than it's a PS1 style horror game. And I only know that because you just said it.
I forgot that I did a chat with Felix a long time ago. I think it was like no direct, no problem. It was the discussion that we did. If anyone remembers that, so Felix might remember it a bit from that at least. But yeah, so this is it very much it nails that. You can put it in a box. It's a survival horror game where resources are limited. You have kind of tanky top-down controls that feel very reminiscent of like Resident Evil, not necessarily Silent Hill because those play a little different, but you play as this android called the brand of android. They're a replica, which reminds me a lot of like Blade Runner. I think there's replicants or something like that in Blade Runner.
As soon as you said that, I was like, oh, I'm getting Blade Runner vibes here.
Yeah, as I was saying it as well, I was like, oh gosh, I should probably like explain that it's different. but they're basically androids, and your spacecraft crash lands on this planet, and your partner, either I'm not sure if they're your friend or just your coworker or if they're another replica. I don't know what they are, but at the beginning of the game, you go searching for them, and it ends up taking a lot of like really kind of creepy, of course, and it's a psychological horror game as well. Not only are there just like scary monsters that you have to hunt down and avoid and random puzzles to solve, but the game's always like messing with your head. And
not my head.
Yeah, I know. The one thing that you want to keep safe, right?
Is that a little bit sort of like Eternal Darkness in there kind of thing?
I don't think it doesn't go that far.
I've bamboozled you.
I know. Well, and I know you. Was it that you really like Eternal Darkness, or is that you haven't gotten to play it? I know we talked about it recently, but I can't remember.
Kind of both. I've played a bit of it, but it is only a bit of it, and I don't know why, but I never got around to finishing it.
I do think this is a game, though, that if you're into survival horror lightly, this game it borrows off of those like early ideas and kind of refines them in a way like something like a Death's Door being a Zelda-like game. I think Signalis is a great example of one of those games that like every survival horror game fan should play. It started out in the early game really kind of easy for me, and so much to a point where I was hoarding resources, but like felt like I was just this unstoppable force. But then like a third of the way into the game or halfway through, like enemies started really getting on my bad side, and like I wasn't. It's not that I want to say I was having a bad time, but the game was scared. It was scaring the heck out of me.
I was really holding back not to do that, Alex.
It was really freaking me out though. So I would just say that anybody who's looking for a survival horror game, or maybe if you've never played them and you want to know like what it was like playing the original Resident Evil games, I think this game does a great job of just replica that original style, because it's one of those games where like they'll hide a key in a room on the other side of the map of this floor, and you got to go find it in like a furnace or something like that. But like you open the furnace and you have to manually open it yourself, but you're scared because there's something in there, and like what if an enemy pops out, or what if once you grab that key a bunch of enemies crawl out of the floor grates or something like that.
Is it the kind of game where you can't always save, so it's like you're really nervous about losing progress?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So you have save points dotted around on the map and like the different floors, and
a bit like the typewriters in the Resi games.
Kind of, yeah, same principle. You just don't need to have like I think in the original Resident Evil games you had to have an ink ribbon in order to save. Thankfully,
you do.
They're not like
that scared me more than anything else in the early Resi games.
So I'm glad you brought that up though, because the one thing that this game does though is that when you save, like you save on these like old CRT monitors that are like shining bright red, and they kind of illuminate the room. So whenever you walk into one of those rooms, you know exactly, like you know that there's a save point there, because the whole room is like, it just has a really nice red glow. But then when you go up to the screen and you click it to save, the screen like screams on you, and it does it every time without fail. So like, even if you're in like a moment of peace and you know you're in that room, the game still finds a way to like shock you. And even like that being said, there's a really kind of eerie thing that happens if you click the monitor and then don't save. That really messed with me. And so if anyone has played this and knows about that moment, I'm curious to hear what they think. But yeah. That's kind of Signalis in a nutshell, I suppose.
I really like the art style.
I'm just looking at some screens here, and it looks fantastic. It's a really kind of, I mean, it's pixel art, which some people may argue is overdone, and I just think it's just an artistic choice. Get over it. But no, it's got sort of like a really sort of grimy, sort of grungy atmosphere, but also it's also very clean. It's quite an interesting blend with like the harsh edges and everything. I think it looks great.
Yeah, there are a lot of really cool filters that you can turn on in the settings to make the game a bit sharper if you want, because it uses kind of a mix of sprites and like really it uses 3D like character models and like 3D models for objects and stuff, but you can kind of make it look like a DS game, I think is what it reminds me of a lot. And
that is a niche art. That is a niche sort of retro angle, a DS game.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, especially for a survival horror game, because I know they remade Resident Evil 1 on the DS and then called it Deadly Silence because they thought they were being cute.
Did they?
Yeah. I've never played it.
Oh my god, I've never heard of that.
Yeah. Maybe it went by a different title in Europe, but
maybe. I mean, I've never heard of it. Full stop. I know they released. I know there's like an N64 version of Resident Evil 2 which somehow exists. Oh yeah. But no, I had no idea that there was like. Is it the remake? So is it like a remake of the remake, or is it a remake of the original?
I think it's a remake of
just
D-make.
Base.
Oh,
it might be, because I think they incorporated some new features, but it might just be that they took the PS1 Resident Evil 1 and ported it over. I'm not sure, but it doesn't look as nice as the remake. That's for sure.
So I could look this up myself, but then it wouldn't benefit the lovely viewers now, would it? How much is this on Switch? I see that there's a physical version. So I'm assuming it's going to be, I'm going to take a guess and say it's around about £15, maybe 20 on the eShop. You're going to give it to me in dollars, I've just realized.
I am, and I was going to try to go look up the price on the UK eShop, but I'm age gated already on the US eShop here. So it is $20 US. So I'm thinking you're right on the money. It must be around.
It's $15.99.
Yeah, nice job. And this took me maybe 15 hours to play.
Oh wow!
I think I only used. Yeah, I used
That's
a walk
more than
through
I
once
thought.
or twice.
I just assumed, it'd be quite a short game. I'm not saying like cripplingly short, but I thought maybe it'd be sort of like maybe 5 hours tops. 15 hours. That's £1 an hour.
Yeah, it's good. It's good bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let's see. I beat this. Oh yeah, it took me 12 hours. I've got it on my howlongtobeat.com account. 12 hours on the money.
Oh yeah. Can definitely recommend having an account like that to keep track of all your games.
Oh yeah.
That's also the way I noticed that I think I gave the game I'm about to talk about a too low score. I think it grew with me over time, and it's like I
Ooh.
remember it really fondly. The game is also $20, and it's a game I have talked about, but I feel like no one really talks about this game, even though it like people seem to really like it, and it's a little game called Little Gator Game.
Oh, snap.
Ah, yes.
And this is a game where you are just a little gator, but you're a little kid running around.
It's a game about a little gator? What's it called?
But it's really, you have this little sandbox world where you're just running around and doing fun little activities. You're taking pictures with your camera. You are finding new friends to play with, and suddenly you have like an Ace Attorney court case like in the middle of it, and it's just a game.
What?
Yeah, it's a game that references a couple of stuff, but it's also
That's
just
awesome.
that feeling you got when you were out playing as a kid, which is really hard to get nowadays, at least for me. I got that when playing this, and
I'm old enough, I can't remember what it was like.
fair enough. But let me tell you,
Are there like little kids in the game like trying to trade Pokemon cards and like pretending they're Smash Brothers characters and
Logging
getting in
onto their
trouble for
computers with dial-up.
yeah.
MSN Messenger. Oh.
But it's also a bit of an emotional story. Well, not really emotional, but there's, you have this big sister and you're doing all this stuff to get her attention because she's now grown up and she doesn't really play with you, and it really got me.
No way. Is that kind of the story of the game? Is like, yeah, you have like a bunch
you're
of
doing
missions.
all this stuff because your sister's doing this assignment, and I can't remember the details exactly, but like, I think the little gator had this idea that if they did all this would get her attention. So they had like this, they made this story where he's like this adventurer, and then all his friends are out in this island. We're playing different roles. Like, for example, you have this space adventurer and stuff where it's really everything is made out of like cardboard and stuff on this island. Like, the island is not made out of cardboard, but everything they interact with, there's not really monsters. Everything is like handmade to really show that no, this is just them playing, but you really live yourself into that adventure. And I just find it really intriguing because I don't see that many games doing it. And I loved being a kid, and I really miss it. So this game gave me something that I didn't think I could get again.
It
Are
just
like
seems...
all the enemies? Oh no, go ahead, Alex.
I've seen this game before and I've been tempted by it a number of times, but never actually gone for it. It just seems to be absolutely dripping in innocence.
Yes, very much so. There's no real. I mean, there was a part that made me cry. So that's what I mean when it gets a bit emotional. But it's like cry in a good way, if that makes sense.
An emotional release rather than upset.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, nothing to be afraid of there. We just call that in the biz, we call that an emotional release. Yes.
No, it's really nothing scary. It's just, it's just so beautiful. And art style, absolutely loving. It reminds me a lot of A Short Hike, just without the pixelated feel.
Oh, and, kind of like a similar idea.
Yeah, those big sort of like harsh contrast colors and things like that, and big block color.
I can't remember if there's actually a pixel filter you can turn on, just like A Short Hike, you can turn it off. My mind is getting the better of me, but I'm fairly certain that you can. I don't know. It's just really pretty because there's these like autumn trees, so everything is this. I mean, autumn when the trees are like brown, red, orange. That's like one of the best times of the year to like go for walks, and it's really fun to run around on this tiny little island. Zion, you said something about the enemies, and I think we accidentally cut you off.
I wanted to ask, like, are there enemies in the game? Like, if so, like, do your sister's friends like end up pretending that they're enemies on the map? Because I know you have a sword, but
yeah. So the fun thing is actually these enemies don't attack. It's just cardboard cutouts, and that sounds really boring. But it's like you have to kind of imagine you're fighting these things, and so you get all this confetti, and the confetti used to gain upgrades. For example, you get these things so you can climb higher, or you get this thing so you can kind of like paraglide in the air. It's a kind of a currency, so you go around destroying these things to get confetti to upgrade, so you can reach newer areas with new adventures. There's like the only slight downside of this game is that it's a bit there's not really a quest log. So if you just play for a little bit and go away, you might forget what you were supposed to do. And it's a bit hard to keep track of. I just played it in one go because it's a really short game. It's around 4 hours or something. I think I completed it. So very, very short game. Not as much bang up for your buck as Sion's game. But it is, I still think it's well worth the price because it's just really, really beautiful.
Yeah, it looks so pretty, and that the gator, like I've watched a minute of a trailer, and I already want to like adopt him. You know, even though he's not even up for adoption, but
I've got a spoiler, Zion. He's not even real.
Man, why?
But speaking of not being real, it's actually quite interesting what you were saying about the enemies all being cardboard cutouts and everything, because that's in a way. It kind of echoes playing games when I was a lot younger, you know, back when graphics were really, really rough. And you would have to kind of use your imagination to fill in the gaps. And you're kind of doing that again here. It's not that you're but it's, what's the word I'm looking for? It's suspension of disbelief.
Yes.
That's
oh
what
my
it
gosh.
is.
Yes. Awesome.
So
I was going to say that, but I felt stupid. Like I was like, that doesn't sound right, but awesome. Okay, cool.
I felt stupid.
Yeah, I think that's part of the charm of it. Of course, the graphics and the music as well just play into this really, as you said, innocent vibe. And yeah, if you need something where you don't need to worry about anything, just have a good time, just play around a bit, this is the game for you. But what is the game from you, Alex?
Well, you're not gonna have a chilled time necessarily with this one. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's no Doom Eternal.
It's also a survival horror.
Not quite, no. It's quite nice. We've all got quite different games. My game is Mechstermination Force.
Oh, so you're exterminating replicas. Okay, cool.
This is a game by, and I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation of his name, Bertil Horberg, and he's done a number of games. Most notably, he's known for the Gunman Clive series.
Oh, yeah, that's a fun game.
But he's done
that
loads
actually this year.
He's done loads of games, and this is just another one of his. And it's great. The basic idea is that there are these giant robots, and they are giant compared to you. And you have to defeat them. There's a couple of rules, like, you know, yellow glowing things can be shot, but red glowing bits can only be hit with melee. And so you have to actually usually climb up the robot, a little bit Shadow of the Colossus-like, but not quite as in depth, perhaps. And in order to take them out, and the robots often change shape. You often have to go inside them and climb around. You'll get different abilities. It's really good fun. It's kind of, in a way, it's not a million miles away from Cuphead in some regards, at least in terms of like the raw gameplay. But by no means is it, I mean, anyone who's been watching will know, it's by no means trying to be Cuphead. I mean, as much as anything, it's from 2019. Even though I think Cuphead's older. Regardless, it's a fantastic game, and I've had an absolute blast with it. It is a little bit unforgiving at times. There are quite a few beginner traps, but there are, you know, the game's reasonably generous with things like upgrades, and very few times did I feel like that any deaths that occurred weren't my fault. It happened maybe once or twice, and that was just irritating, and maybe I should have been a little bit more cautious or what, but, you know, I don't, you know, it doesn't matter. I'm still drawn to going back to this game all the time. I still haven't completed it, and I'm itching to do so. And more importantly, I got it literally for free with my gold points. Because at the time of recording, at the time of recording, it's on sale for £1.86. It is,
oh my god,
83% off.
I'm definitely getting that, because this looks, I'd never heard of this game, Alex, and it looks really, really fun. I did play Gunman Clive, as I said just before, and that was a really fun game. And this just looks to be taking it to a whole other level. There's much more interaction with the levels itself, and these bosses are really grandiose, and looks like they're kind of puzzles in itself. You have to figure out exactly where
there is definitely a degree of that, and also
and it's really pretty.
It's reasonably pretty. I do think that the presentation is maybe a bit of a thorn in its side, unfortunately, because
really?
it looks great in motion. But when things are still, I don't know, I think maybe it's a combination of the art style or just the particular screens that have been taken. I don't think they show the game in its best light. It looks quite still and static, and considering how much competition there is on the eShop, it doesn't stand out as a result. And I think that's why this is, at least for me, very much an underappreciated game. It's, sort of the animation and everything is to the benefit of the gameplay because it's very clean and crisp. You can see everything's telegraphed, but as a result, in stills, it doesn't pop, which I think is a real shame.
When with how many games there are on the eShop, I was just gonna go add this game to my wish list. But I think I've seen this on sale over the years and just have kind of always moved past it because I didn't really. I agree that that key art that they use for the eShop isn't very I don't know, exciting, but I feel way different, seeing the gameplay and hearing you talk about it. And so this feels like such a great title for this kind of video because I think it once you actually see it and hear about it, it kind of can change your perspective on it, I think. And so I like I said, I was going to go add this to my wish list, but then I also saw that it was on sale in the US here for $1.99. So I bought it as well.
Fastest sale in history. Yeah, it's honestly,
well done, Alex. Well done.
It's great. It's just really good fun to pick up and play. I've always been a fan of Bertil's work, and this is just another banger. It takes, ideas, kind of like Gunman Clive, but Gunman Clive was very Mega Man. This is almost Mega Man Monster Hunter in a way, with just the idea that it's this big boss. But at the same time, it's more complicated than that because there's a very specific way to take out each mech, as it were. And
yeah, I like the way that you get to climb them sometimes too, like a Shadow of the Colossus thing almost. It looked like that looked fun. Yeah,
there's loads of variety in there as well, and yeah, I just think it's a really fun game. I don't really know what else I can say. It's not easy, I'll give you that for free, but you can just kind of spam the upgrades by repeating missions over and over again. You can get as much money as you'd like and all that sort of thing. Also, I hasten to point out, I'm rubbish at the game. I really am, which you can probably tell from looking at the footage. But I still have a great deal of fun with it, and I've never got anything more than 1 out of 3 stars for any of the mechs, but I don't care. It's great if you want to go back and, perfect your art and really get down to the nitty-gritty of doing as much as you can in as short a time as possible, but I'm just having fun playing it.
How long is the game?
I haven't completed the game myself yet, but the main story, according to howlongtobeat.com, is 3 hours. It's not a big game, but if you're buying it for £2, essentially, that's still the best value we've had so far in this video.
I mean, free is really nice if you have enough gold points.
Oh, if you got the gold points, but even if you don't, I mean, come on. Whilst this, I don't know how long the sale's going to last, but if you're watching this when this video goes out, take advantage of it.
I need to go take this off my wish list now. Goodness.
Oh, it's available until the 5th of February. Get on it.
Oh, go. So, maybe it'll go on sale again. And actually, I don't know what the standard price of the game is normally. I didn't even.
It's $10.99.
Now that I bought it, I can't see. Okay, cool.
So it's still not expensive, but £2 is cheaper.
Yeah, for a Cuphead-like game with big robots and still has co-op, it seems.
God,
it seems
yeah,
like
I haven't tried the co-op.
Yeah, I was curious if the co-op would be more difficult because this seems like a fun game, to play in person with a buddy. Like if we got together, at some point again down the road here, it'd be cool to sit down and play some of this. But
be screaming at the other person, "No, go to the top of the robot. I'll take care of the lower part."
Right, especially if the game becomes more difficult, then that's not. We should just play it together in the same room, but then by ourselves at that point. But
I just hope it's not like the co-op of Sonic Superstars. because that would not be fun.
Yeah, just getting teleported all over. This looks like you'd be at least contained in one area.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It looks fun.
But there you have it. Those are, in our opinion, just 3 underappreciated Switch games. Do you have any underappreciated Switch games in your library? Let us know with a comment down below, and maybe we'll feature them in an upcoming video. But for now, just let me say thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you underappreciate that just appreciate that subscribe button for what it is.
Yeah.
And be sure to check out NintendoLife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.
Little Mux Terminalis. That's our 3 games together.
Man, I'm just a little McSterminasis in the pound, and I wish someone would wish list me.